All right. A bunch of people logged off. Hey, Yosef, what's up? Yeah, Yosef in the room. If you want to just, if you can send a message, if you don't mind, my WhatsApp is closed, but just let people know I'm back on the air and I'm starting now so they can log back in. Just had a little 5-minute delay. Okay, so we got a lot to cover this morning. There's a ton with macroeconomic stuff. We have FOMC today. Real quickly off the top, look, we got SIGA earnings tomorrow. RUM we're going to talk about in just a second because it's been up 100% from the bottom. INVE earnings tonight. IDENIV earnings tonight. COMM earnings tomorrow. BTU earnings tomorrow. TFFP we'll talk about in just a second. Dan Carlson, I got him to talk about what's going on with TFFP. WEAT is down because Russia-Ukraine deal came back online. You can see all these stocks we're going to talk about, and we'll get into SPY, QQQ, TLT, ARC, what to look for at a very high level because I want to get to Dan real quick. Very high level. We got FOMC today. We have elections on Tuesday. We have CPI next week. So lots to talk about there. But first, let's just jump in and bring on our special guest, Dan Carlson from TFFP. No, not TFFP Research, from Tailwinds Research. Dan, how you doing?
How's it going, Ben?
All right, a little better. A little 5-minute delay here with technical issues. But all right, I wanted to bring you on to talk about TFFP because that stock is down 38% this morning. They had some news which didn't look great. So tell us what we need to know in 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. So they put out 2 press releases yesterday that told us basically 3 things. The first press release says that their phase 2 programs, the data from them is delayed for both VORI and TAC programs. This showed us, one, that the management team is incompetent and frankly has been misleading. I don't know if it's intentional or not. I'm not going to say that, but misleading investors. CEO needs to go, in my opinion. Stock's not investable as long as he's in charge. He's proven himself not capable. Second thing is it brings into question if they can achieve a catalyst before they need financing. Probably not. But the stock's at a really cheap level. The other press release, the third thing that we learned is that the drugs actually work really well. I mean, really well. They're taking some patients that are compassionate use there's no alternatives out there, and they're showing that their drugs work on these patients. So the platform works, the drugs work. Long term, this is going to be a great story long term. Near term, the stock's at a level where it's dirt cheap, but ain't going anywhere until they get some more money in and change the CEO. At that point, I think you can make some good returns here from these levels. But it's been a disaster to get to here, to say the least.
Yeah, it's been a disaster year for it. When you say stock's not investable, so I are you a seller here and you'd like buy back later when the story gets better?
No, when I say it's not investable, I just don't think it's going higher until they solve those 2 problems.
Right.
So I wouldn't run out and buy it. I'm keeping my stock. I mean, some people are going to sell for tax loss purposes. Yeah, I get that, whatever. But I just don't see it going anywhere until these 2 issues are solved. But I don't think it's going to drop a lot more because there's great value here. So not investable means, why would you want to own it at these times?
Got it. Okay, good. So if anyone wants to follow up, P Research Group over at StoryTrading, but also people can head on over to your website, right, to learn more?
Yep. twresearchgroup.com.
twresearchgroup.com.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to send me a WhatsApp message or part of the TFF group chat, happy to provide input. But I think that I basically covered it all right there.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much, Dan.
Yep. No problem.
All right. Take care. All right, guys. Let's get back into some of these other stocks. All right, let's just start at the top of the list. SIGA has earnings tomorrow. You guys know the thesis on this. We submitted this as a trade of the week pick along with COMM because of both of these are earnings plays. So SIGA getting some attention. Yesterday, technicals, it closed above the 20 DMA for the first time in, look at this, first time since like August or something like that. Yeah, it's first time in a long, long time. Actually, it broke down below it in August 23rd. All right, hasn't been above it since August 23rd. So this is great. you know, when I look at these moving averages, the 20, 50, 200, you can't automatically use those as indicators. You have to see how that specific stock interacts with those major moving averages, and some are more loyal to them than others. And SIGA looks like it's very loyal to it, right? It's been rejected at the 20 DMA several times, and finally it's above it. So that's just one thing. That's a technical signal. And of course, we do the 4 pillars here. So we have the catalyst of earnings coming up. We have fundamentals, which I believe are going to be really good. We didn't have sentiment. Sentiment's been against it, and that's why there's an opportunity here, because I think the shorts are overplaying their hand and have the sentiment wrong, because it's all about monkeypox and no longer being something that's in the news and no longer something that's growing. Although yesterday, the World Health Organization came out and said monkeypox is still a global health emergency. That may also have something to do with the strength in the stock we saw yesterday and this morning in pre-market. So I'm feeling really good about this going into earnings tomorrow. Now, nothing is a guarantee. So possibly if we get a move here in anticipation of earnings tomorrow, if shorts start worrying and they start covering, and if we get a move towards that 200 DMA of 10 to 1050, I might take some off the table today just so I don't have to take the risk into earnings tomorrow. So we'll see how that works out. But either way, whether it's a earnings anticipation run getting you to the 200 DMA, or it's an earnings reaction run after earnings tomorrow getting you to the 200 DMA, I think that's the target, 1050, the initial target. So that's a nice percentage move from where it is here at 941. So SIGA looking good. Now, RUM, man, I'm kicking myself a little bit because I totally called this. I mean, those of you who have been watching me closely talk about RUM and the great fundamental analysis and the collaboration we did with Chris from SPACFest, Chris Tuttle, like, we knew that this thing would trade in a 5 to 15 range. I was telling people about it. I was not surprised to see the short report come out. But, you know, emotions kick in, at least they do for me, when we're at like low 6s or below 7. Where was it? Yeah, low 6s. I'm like, I don't know yet. Like, Chris, you know, maybe it's going to go to 5, right? So I ended up getting a little bit in the 7s, but I flipped those shares at 8, and I've been selling on the way up ever since. In any case, at this point, I still have a decent amount I can sell. And honestly, I sold at 1345. I told you yesterday on the post-market wrap high, derived that resistance level, and that worked out perfectly. You can see the RSI here is low at 57, and I just really like this chart pattern. And honestly, I think it's going to explode to 50 and plus. Again, nothing is a guarantee, and that's why I've been selling so far on the way up, but I'm leaving more shares available so I can sell in a 15 plus kind of event that could happen any day. And then we'll get another short report and then we can buy cheap again. We'll have to see. But there's always the upside risk that Elon Musk says, hey, I'm going to do something with Rumble, and then all bets are off. And actually, I might even buy that news, right? If it's only up, you know, a small percentage or even 10% or something, I think that's a day the stock can go up 40, 50, 60% in a day if Elon Musk says is going to be working with Rumble in some capacity. So that's what's going on over there with RUM. INVE, I did pick some for up yesterday for an earnings play into tonight. Now, I think that's a guidance here that's going to do really well on the revenue. The top line guidance, I think we're going to see an increase on that based on the several PRs that have been coming out with big contracts. So that's a small earnings bet I'm making here. I'm not so sold on the earnings situation there, but we'll see. You can see the next target here is $13. So hopefully I can sell at around $13 tomorrow after we get an increase in revenue expectations. We'll see if I'm right or not on that. COMM, we're holding into earnings. I'm holding into earnings tomorrow. Of course, this is the play on Clearfield and CalX, and the sector is really hot. A little bit of risk here. Again, I'll just remind you that this 4x risk there. It's 200 DMA is trying to break 200 week moving average, and that's one of the reasons I'm happy to swing this. If we get good news, this thing can run for weeks. BTU earnings tomorrow. You know the story here. Arch, its peer, did really well last week on earnings, cash flow positive. Going to get like 80% of the market cap back in dividends in the next year, something like that. Thank you, Matt S., for that idea, and you can talk to him for more information on that in the community. We just talked about TFFP. Personally, I decided to sell my shares that I did have. I took a big loss on that. Now, wheat is back down 5% because Russia said they are doing that deal again with Ukraine for exporting wheat. So that's going to be that reduces the sentiment in the agriculture sector. Remember, we had some nice trades in the agriculture sector because of that sentiment. Now you take that off the table so you can see pullbacks. My favorite one, is ADM that I've been tracking, and ADM's already pulling back this morning. But if you look at the bigger chart, I'm kind of seeing a big cup here, and it failed to break out of the cup because of the news this morning. So now you can get the handle, and then you can explode to that 105 target I'm looking for, the all-time high in the 105 target. So actually, I'm looking for a handle here. Who knows? Maybe we can get it at like $90. What was the high here? $92. Of course, you have the 20 DMA. Worst case scenario, I think you can go to the 20 DMA in the 80s, but I think like 92 to 90, I'll start picking up some again, and I may miss it. The earnings are so good, it may not go that low. So ADM, just a good stock if you want to own it long term. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's something that's probably good for your IRA type of situation. CVS beat and raised this morning. Now we're watching CVS closely because of what we think is going to be a deal with Dario. So they had an earnings call at 8 a.m. So I couldn't listen to that. I don't know if there are any clues on the 8 a.m. call about what may be coming with Dario, but that's something to watch. And of course, it's a beat and raise, so that's good. There was an interesting comment in there about how their revenue is up because of inflation. Inflation is helping them on the top line. And we're seeing that all over the place with a lot of companies' reports is, hey, and that means that these inflation is probably going to be sticky, along with some other indicators that Julian's been pointing out in the jobs report, which was very strong this morning. We have FOMC this afternoon, obviously, at 2 p.m. And, let me just jump past these three stocks and we'll get to them. But, we have FOMC now at 2 p.m., which is going to have a lot of volatility around it. It's going to be 75 basis points, but it's all about the conference call and Powell's comments. And is he going to pivot to be more dovish, or is going to continue to stay hawkish? Honestly, I don't know. If there's a pivot to dovish, I think it's because of the election next week. And otherwise, especially Julian's been on fire with this in her room, but based on all of the great earnings coming out and some other indicators and the jobs number this morning, economy is strong, jobs market is strong. So I think that we're going to have more pain in terms of interest rates, and that's going to cause a lot of volatility here. But you know what? I almost don't care about these levels anymore, because we have identified a few sectors that are at 52-week highs, all-time highs, and what you're seeing is a rotation out of certain stocks into the other stocks, right? You're seeing this divergence and this, what's the word I'm looking for? That's good enough for now. Divergence. So, but in any case, I'm really not so worried about those major indices. Agriculture, aerospace, energy, all-time highs. So that tells you if a stock is doing well and they're cash flow positive and they're growing their earnings, it doesn't really matter what the indices are doing at this point. So, hey, who knows? The Qs might be down another 30%, 20% from here. And I think it is possible. If you look at Google, we're not going to dig into the Google chart today, but I'm sorry, Amazon. Amazon chart looks really, really bad. It looks like it has another like $20 or so downside, but that's for another time. Now, also to look at today very carefully as 2 p.m. comes and 3 p.m. comes after the CC press conference, and we want to see what the direction is going to be. Look at TLT. Look at the bond market. That's going to give you a much more reliable indicator of what's going to happen in the near immediate future, the next few days, than the stock market will. All right. TLT, of course, is a stock, but it's an ETF for the bond market. So if you see TLT going up, that's going to be really good for stocks, especially for risk assets. So that means lower interest rate expectations longer term. If TLT goes down, that means higher interest rates, which is really bad for risk assets. So really watch TLT. Now, I already advised yesterday to going into this event, you may want to take some off the table because of FOMC today at 2 p.m. But don't forget, election on Tuesday, CPI next week. And historically, right after the election, there's a huge swing, right? So I can't begin to tell you if that's going to be a huge pop or a huge drop at this point, but there's going to be huge volatility, and I want to raise cash, and I already started raising cash yesterday. DSKE, there's some news that, hey, this rail strike might still be in play, and it's going to gain center attention again after the election next week. So DSKE, strong fundamentally, something to look at. They're doing buybacks, 7 PE, and this is a trucking company that's going to get more business. And at least from a sentiment perspective, traders will come in to this alternative form of transportation if there's a rail strike. So we got DSKE on watch, and who knows, maybe that's something I'll pick up here in the next few days in case that rail strike does come into the middle, forefront in the news next week. There are a couple here I skipped. I got to get back into. Let's see. Okay, yes. ANDE, ANDE had earnings yesterday. This was a pick, a wheat pick from Matt S. First of all, you have the bad sentiment this morning from wheat going down, but also I wasn't so impressed with these earnings. It's 50 cents beats the 42 estimate, but if you annualize that to $2, that gives you a PE of like 20, but the trailing PE is 9. Now, I don't know the fundamentals well. Maybe that 9 number had special items, or if you just look at adjusted EBITDA, it gives you, more consistent growth. But something that it doesn't look like the blowout to me that ADM and LNN look like, those top agriculture plays. So I decided actually to sell the ANDE I had in after hours last night because of that earnings report. Another big ag company that we like, SPTN, pre-announced this morning, top line beat and top line raise, but I'm not sure about the earnings. So they didn't report the earnings and EPS. It's hard for me to compare with the analyst estimates, but based on the calculation I did, it looked like they're missing on EPS. Now, I'm not 100% sure of that, but I'm not jumping at I'm not jumping to buy this right now. They do have an investor conference at 12:30 p.m. It may be worth it to tune into that investor day conference at 12:30 p.m. to get more insights in this. So I'm not especially excited about jumping into this right now. Basically, a little lukewarm on agriculture this morning because of what's going on with wheat. Okay. What else did I miss? I missed a few things here as we were flying through. Okay, LLKF had some news. You can talk to Tony in our community about that. This is going to open up about 8-9% because it's up 8-9% overnight in Australia. It does not trade pre-market. I think they had two pieces of good news. With the gap that we're going to see this morning, that's going to take it above the 50 DMA. So I tagged Tony on that. I'm looking forward to collaborating with Tony this morning to see his views on that, to see if that news that we got this morning and last night, I think there were two significant news items for LLKF. There's a lithium company out of Australia. Is this something that's going to be sustainable? You gap above the 50. Do you make a move to the 200? Possibly. So that's something on watch, and we're looking forward to hearing what Tony has to say about that. GOEV, just want to mention there's a little bit of news. I know Julian in our community like this. It's trying to break out of the 20 DMA. This might be tasty. Look at that. It's been below the 20 DMA for a long time, just like SIGA. And it's trying to break out above the 20 DMA right now on some EV battery manufacturing news to help with their expansion plans. This story is all about how they're going to raise their money and how dilutive is the next raise going to be, or is it going to be dilutive? That's the story because they have the business, okay? They have the business and they also have Walmart. So this could explode if they get the right financing arrangement. And it's been steady here at 140 for a while, trying to peak above the 20 DMA. I might tiptoe into this. Actually, I have a small position, very small. I tiptoed into the other week when Julian mentioned it, but I might add more. I just want to mention CVV because CVV has been on a tear since the earnings from Wolf. And Julian pointed out the commentary from Wolf that silicon carbide production, is in high demand, and it's going to continue to be through the rest of the decade. This is a silicon carbide manufacturer. Is it up because of those comments? Maybe. I mean, it certainly matches. I mean, it would be a crazy coincidence if it was up for some other reason. But anyway, earnings are November 14th, I believe, estimated to be November 14th. So the earnings are coming up, and this is right at a 52-week high. So I just want to bring this to people's attention to maybe collaborate on this further. I know Sanjay and Julian in the room have been on top of researching CVV, so there might be an opportunity there. Who knows? An air-like opportunity, possibly. Right? Man, I've dropped the ball on getting management to come present to us. So let's make a note about that. CVV. I'm going to try to get management to present to us. One last stock that I forgot to mention in the post-market wrap yesterday, PLPL. That's another one. Julian gave us to us yesterday. I just want to say, no, I'm sorry, it's not PLPL. It's where is it? PLPC. Okay, PLPC. Julian gave this to us yesterday. Earnings beat. Chart. The technicals look great. The fundamentals look great. The sector they're in looks very good. If you read it over here, it looks like a recession-proof sector they're in, PLPC. So interesting new name by Julian, maybe something to add to our watch list. And I was trying to buy this yesterday, but I couldn't get in at $84. So we'll see what happens with that. That looks like a good value with a good chart and good technicals and good sentiment. So good pick, I think, from Julian there, even though I haven't spent a lot of time on it, but that's my initial reaction to that. And maybe we'll increase the collaboration on PLPC. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it. Let's just quickly look at the news feed. It's 9:25 a.m. And I think that'll do it for our show today. Today is Wednesday. So we're going to see you. I'll do a quick post-market wrap at 4 p.m. And then 4:30, we'll jump on Zoom. Our Zooms on Wednesday, it's usually not a lot of people, but it's usually very informative. Like it's like some 3 to 5 people usually. And we just dig in and we do a screen share and we just start talking about different stocks and we research together in real time. And that's proven for us. I mean, a lot of my best trades have come from those Wednesday afternoon sessions. So definitely join us on Wednesday, but try to come with an idea today 4:30 on Zoom. Try to come with an idea, a thesis, whatever it is, and we'll research it together. All right. So thanks for joining us. And I forgot to say, hey, if you're watching this replay here on YouTube at 4 p.m., you can get this show every single morning by joining StoryTrading. There's a 7-day risk-free trial. You go to StoryTrading.com and you can become a VIP. And with that, I am out of here. Have a great day, guys.